So instead of exotic armor, this episode featured 3 new aspects, 1 per class. Titans and Warlocks got 1 for Arc, while Hunters got 1 for Void. We're going to be talking about Titans today and going over your new aspect, and we will visit the other 2 as soon as I am able to. I want to talk about Bolt Charge itself first before we get into the new aspect, because you should know how it works first. Okay, so what is Bolt Charge? Bolt Charge is a new action for the Arc subclass where after gaining 10 stacks of it, you can discharge a lightning strike onto an enemy. Arc didn't have much going on in the same way that some other subclasses did, so Bungie wanted to give Arc a way to dish out some burst damage, kind of like what Ignition is for Solar subclasses. So how does it work? To build Bolt Charge, you will need to use things that provide Bolt Charge in the first place. This includes things like Storm's Keep on Titans, new aspect, Ionic Sentry on Warlocks, new aspect, and Tempest Strike on Hunters, not a new aspect, but might as well be, select exotic weapons, which we'll discuss, the Rolling Storm perk, and maybe a couple of other places. While you have Bolt Charge, sustained weapon damage will generate additional stacks of Bolt Charge, in addition to any other effects that you have available to you, like the ones I just mentioned. However, dealing weapon damage without any Bolt Charge won't start magically generating it for you. You need a stack first, and then you can keep building. When you reach 10, it'll tell you Bolt Charge is ready, and you activate your Bolt Charge with any ability damage at all. Then, you build your stacks again to try to launch another Bolt Charge. Storm's Keep for Titan does 3 things. Number 1, when cast, it gives you and nearby allies some Bolt Charge. 2, while behind your barricade, you gain stacks of Bolt Charge very rapidly without having to do anything. And most importantly, probably, 3, you can activate Bolt Charge with your weapon, provided you are behind and close enough to a barricade. So this thing that normally would require a melee will now just happen automatically as you're firing from behind a barricade. The damage is pretty significant on a Bolt Charge, to the point where it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Striker Titans in raids, thanks to Storm's Keep specifically. Damage testing still needs to be done, but I don't see much of a reason to not use this in a raid or a dungeon environment, or really any environment at all. Like, it's just good. Storm's Keep also appears to stack with another Storm's Keep, meaning you can charge up even faster with multiple Titans. It's basically double the speed. I mentioned exotics earlier. Thunderlord gives Bolt Charge on lightning strikes, Cloud Strike gives it on rapid precision hits or precision kills, and Wardcliff Coil gives it when you just fire it. So trying to incorporate these weapons into your setup is a great idea in addition to weapons with Rolling Storm. Naturally, I wanted to make some kind of a build with the setup, and there are many different directions you can go, as we will discuss. I wanted to show some love to what is currently an underused exotic in Hazardous Propulsion, aka the exotic that launches rockets when you use your class ability. We'll talk about other exotics later. Quick recap on Propulsion. Crits, precision kills, or rapid kills gradually give stacks of rockets, which you deploy with your class ability, and these deal kinetic damage. When you deploy the rockets, you also get a damage boost to rocket launchers based on how many rockets you fire. The more, the higher. The reason we're using this is because it's also a thing that activates on class ability usage, and I haven't used it pretty much at all, and it's pretty fun with this setup. Aspects. Obviously taking Storm's Keep, but Knockout versus Touch of Thunder I think is up to you. I still really enjoy the punching experience, and punching is the only way other than being behind a barricade to send out Bolt Charge. Fragments are going to depend a lot on where you are, what exotic you're using, many different factors. I started with a baseline of frequency, discharge, resistance, and beacons. Resistance is mainly for the nether and higher tier content. You're nearly constantly surrounded. Extra defense is always worth it. Beacons was because I was using 2 weapons with Rolling Storm, so just blinding everything in sight is pretty appealing. Frequency is mainly used for the Bolt Charge portion, where you gain increased stacks of Bolt Charge while amplified, which you will be a large portion of the time. The other half is where melee hits give you reload speed and stability for a short time. Finally, Discharge is simply for energy gains. Arc weapon kills have a chance to make an ionic trace, with traces giving you more bolt charge. Ionic traces are really good, and you will likely be on some arc weapons. This is a starting point to build off of. My weapons during this testing were Kvostov, Psychopomp, and Watchful Eye, both of which have Rolling Storm, so I really tried to get special and power kills for blinding. If you wanted to run with Lodestar, the new trace rifle, maybe you're going to rotate off of beacons. If you're running a rocket, because of the synergy with hazardous propulsion, maybe you swap off beacons. Maybe you're in some easier content, you swap off resistance, right? Start here, assess your personal situation, and make tweaks as you need to. Maybe you really like having jolt grenades, make the swap. I'm not going to stop you. Stats-wise, you're really just wanting to max out your resilience, which every Titan should have no problem doing, and then just juicing your stats as much as possible. Recovery, discipline, strength, to the best of your ability. Recovery, not technically needed if you only plan on running this in the nether, but I don't min-max my builds that aggressively that I'm doing it per activity. Mod-wise, again, very basic setup, siphon mods, class ability energy restoration in the gloves, resistance in the chest, orb mods in the boots, and some class ability based mods in my class item. This is a baseline to work with if you want to cycle in Surges. Maybe you're wanting a utility kickstart or something like that, which I think is a little overkill. Go for it, right? Spec how you need to. This is just where to start. Artifact, just grab everything arc in there when possible, but the setup works without the artifact. So, what's the plan? Drop a barricade somewhere, as safe as you can make it. Stand behind it. Shoot your gun. That's it. I wish there was more to say. There's really not that much more to say. Hazardous propulsion should be at least considered when placing a barricade, but you're going to get barricades pretty regularly, so don't stress too much about it. When you do have a fully stacked propulsion ready, I would maybe be a little more picky about when and where to drop it. Try to get as much value out of the proc as possible because it is a bit more rare to have a fully procced propulsion. So, how does it perform? Well, in the nether, it works really nicely. Although the higher the difficulty gets, the less free bolt charge stacks will be outside of Storm's Keep. That being said, Storm's Keep will likely be the majority of your bolt charge that you generate. This setup excels in settings where you can really pile on the kills, but also stay around your barricade for as long as possible. As you can see, with the effects doubled up on multiple Titans, it gets a little ridiculous in here. Where's it mine?
Where's the build video?
Bro, I don't even want to hear it.
It's actually crazy how bad.
I need my opinion, man.
I'm dead.
Wasted with Thundercrash, but we'll get it back, surely.
Alright, why are we just standing behind a barricade? What's
What do you mean? It's bolt charge time.
Wait, does it go up double the speed because there's two of them?
And I got the freaking fragment on that juices the hell out
this
of
thing
me.
is
It's going so
going-
fast. Look how fast it's going.
This kind of broke it. Hold on.
I can't
Wait,
even get
third
my
round.
shots. It ran up to, literally in 1 second. Not even.
Are we winning?
Oh, God.
That would've
Oh, Lord.
Hey.
That'll do. New ult.
I'm getting sniped.
Not so fun now, is it?
been- I don't know, just killed me.
But, as always, I love to test in Legend campaign missions, Legend Lost Sectors, although it is a new episode, which means my level is much lower than normal in Legend Lost Sectors. And I would say this build did pretty well, although Bolt Charge is ideally used on enemies that are bunched up a bit more, as the AoE effect isn't that big, or you could use it as single target. Hazardous propulsion did help a little, but unstopped phalanx tend to block all of the rockets, so they're not as impactful as a result. Other lost sectors with other champions will get hit much, much harder. But the damage from Bolt Charge is very respectable, allowing me to kill these champions in one stun, although Arc Surge was on. Was this build letting me fly through this lost sector or anything though? Not really, but it was still very, very satisfying to use. So, hazardous propulsion in here specifically wasn't great. So what are some other exotics that you can consider with this kind of a setup? Heart of Inmost Light was first on the list, but I actually didn't like it as much, specifically in a Lost Sector environment. At 25 levels under, it was hard to take advantage of its effect, like chaining my abilities together. In less difficult content, obviously it's going to be way easier to use, but with Hoyle and Storm's Keep at the same time, it felt like I was trying to do two different builds at the same time, which I really didn't like. I was trying to chain abilities while also standing behind my barricade, but then also trying to stay mobile. It just ended up being a bit much. Again, in easier content, sure, you can just kind of do whatever. But also, Hoyle gets you more ability regen on your class ability, which I would argue you don't really need. Like, it's never going to be bad, but you should have plenty of energy to already work with, that your barricades should be up almost as soon as they fall down. Titans just got a small buff this patch, and I will say that even against enemies 25 levels above me, this wall stood standing for much longer durations than I ever thought it would. You do need to put on Towering Barricade, losing out on that reload speed, but you make up for it with additional protection, and some people really like that. However, Towering Barricade has a much longer cooldown than Rally, which I really did not like. You'd want to opt for even more class ability regeneration in this case. I personally would probably not use Titans as a more offensively minded player, but there will absolutely be players out there stoked to use Titans in PvE and have it not be a terrible idea. Another option is Eternal Warrior. This is a do a thing in the background exotic. It just gives you more arc weapon damage, but it's just something you don't need to think about while you're in the middle of trying to bolt charge everything in sight. For some people, that's a big deal. It means you only need to focus on one thing at a time versus trying to trigger bolt charge and an exotic at the same time. Precious Scars has a similar vibe. Defensively minded, triggers automatically on kills, keeps you alive, but you don't really need to think about it. So you can focus all of your energy on trying to proc bolt charge as much as possible. So that's your introduction to bolt charge. I really like Storm's Keep. I really enjoy using and playing around bolt charge and trying to stack it as fast as possible. You can provide charge to your teammates for some extra damage during a boss fight. I think bolt charge is awesome, and I'm excited to see what people come up with over the episode. Let me know what you've been cooking up in the comments, because I want to know what crazy stuff people have been doing. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.